All right, ever woken up from a dream and you're like, what was I even watching?
It can be pretty
Oh,
wild.
it's like, where does my brain even come up with this stuff? So we're diving deep into dreams this time, what they are, why we have them, all that good stuff. And wow, you guys sent in a ton of notes on this.
You weren't kidding. It's like a history of dream theories from
Wow.
ancient times to like cutting edge neuroscience. Really fascinating stuff.
Seriously. So where do we even begin? Like, did people always think dreams were super meaningful or what?
Well, that's interesting, because way back when, they weren't exactly journaling about dream symbols in their, like, notes app,
All right, more like carving them on cave walls or something.
Well, closer. Think Mesopotamia, clay tablets, serious business. And they weren't just jotting down random thoughts. These were messages, straight from the gods.
Whoa, divine memos.
Exactly. And not just any messages either. We're talking omens, prophecies, a really big stuff.
So, like, ignoring a dream back then was basically hitting ignore on a call from, like, Zeus.
Pretty much. Can you imagine the pressure on the dream interpreters back then? One messed up prediction about the harvest and, well...
You're suddenly the least popular person in ancient Mesopotamia.
You got it.
You dreamt of a talking goat wearing a hat. That's either great luck or a sign of impending doom. One sec. Gotta consult the ancient goat hat dream tablet.
Sounds about right. And it wasn't just the Mesopotamians. The ancient Egyptians, they were really into dreams too, like obsessed. They had these elaborate dream manuals, almost like dictionaries for your dreams.
Dreamed a crocodile stole your chariot. Turn to page 47 for potential curses.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about predicting the future for them either. They also believed dreams were a way to communicate with people who had passed away. Like, imagine getting a nightly text message from beyond the grave.
Kind of makes you wonder what they'd think about text messages in the first place.
Right. But it's interesting, isn't it, this idea of dreams as a connection to something beyond our world? And of course, they had dream experts, priests usually, who were pretty powerful figures because of it.
Dream interpretation. The original high-stakes career path. Though, I'm guessing not everyone bought into the whole messages from the great beyond idea, right? Weren't the ancient Greeks all about logic and reason?
Oh, for sure. And their views on dreams, they were actually all over the place. You had people like Homer who very much believed in the whole divine message thing.
Makes sense given the whole, writing epic poems inspired by the gods thing.
Exactly. But then you have Aristotle coming in with a different perspective.
More of a logic-based approach.
Totally. He was convinced dreams had more to do with our own bodies and experiences. Like, he even thought dreams could help us solve problems or warn us about potential illnesses.
He sounds surprisingly modern for a guy who lived over 2,000 years ago.
Right. It's like, even back then, there was this push and pull between supernatural explanations for dreams and the beginnings of a more, scientific understanding.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, what would they have made of all the dream theories that popped up in the 20th century? I mean, Freud, Jung, those guys really changed the game.
Totally. And Freud especially, he kind of flipped the script on how people thought about dreams. Instead of looking to the heavens for answers, he turned the focus inward.
To the power of the subconscious.
Exactly. It really is remarkable when you think about it. For the longest time, we thought of sleep as this time when our brains basically powered down, like lights out, time to recharge. But turns out...
Like hitting the reset button.
Yeah, exactly. But as scientists started digging deeper, like literally looking at what's happening in our brains while we sleep, they discovered this whole other world of activity.
Hold on. So it's not just our bodies getting some shut-eye. Our brains are pulling an all-nighter too. Maybe that explains the whole sleep on it thing. My brain's actually working overtime.
Right. It's not just working. It's practically throwing a party in there.
Okay.
And not only that, they found that sleep isn't just one big uniform thing. It's like this whole cycle of different stages, each with its own unique brainwave patterns.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Like deep sleep versus light sleep, all that.
Exactly. And it turns out there's one stage in particular that seems to be prime time for dreaming, that vivid, almost movie-like dreaming.
You're talking about REM sleep, right? Rapid eye movement sleep. I definitely heard that one thrown around. But what is it about REM that makes it the dream factory of our sleep cycle? What's going on in our brains?
Okay, imagine your brain's like an orchestra. During REM sleep, certain sections of the orchestra, certain parts of your brain are really going for it. Like, we see this spike in activity in areas that deal with emotions, especially a little part of the brain called the amygdala.
The amygdala. Sounds familiar.
It's basically the emotion center of your brain, and during REM sleep, let's just say it's conducting a very lively symphony.
Okay, so that kind of explains why even the most normal dream can suddenly turn into a full-blown emotional roller coaster. But wait, if our emotions are running the show in REM, what about logic? Because, let's be real, dreams aren't exactly known for their, airtight plot lines or anything.
You're totally right. They definitely have their own logic. And that's actually because while the amygdala is having its big emotional solo, another key part of the brain takes a bit of a backseat during REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex, that's
It's basically your brain's voice of reason, the part that keeps things organized, logical, make sure you don't say or do anything too crazy in your waking life.
So, while our emotions are having a field day during REM, the prefrontal cortex is basically off the clock.
Pretty much. It's like it clocks out and says, look, I've been keeping everything under control all day. I need a break. Let the imagination run wild.
That explains so much. No wonder dreams can be so all over the place. We're basically running on pure, unfiltered brain power. But this still doesn't explain why our brains are doing all this. I mean, if sleep is supposed to be restorative, why not just completely shut everything down?
You've hit upon the million-dollar question, the one that's kept scientists, philosophers, probably everyone who's ever had a weird dream, wondering for, well, ever, why dream at all?
Especially if we're just going to wake up feeling confused half the time.
Right. It does seem like a lot of effort for something that often just leaves us scratching our heads. And to be honest, there's no single definitive answer. But there are some really compelling theories out there, each one offering a different perspective on what purpose dreaming might serve.
Okay, so no easy answers. But hey, that's what makes this whole thing so interesting. Hit me with those theories then. What are some of the leading contenders in dream research right now?
Well, one of the big ones is the idea that dreams are all about emotional processing. Think of it like your brain doing a little overnight therapy session.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. Way cheaper than actual therapy. But how does that even work? Our brains are analyzing our deepest fears and anxieties while we sleep.
It's not that far off, actually. This theory suggests that dreams give us this safe space to basically replay and process difficult or emotional experiences from our waking lives.
Okay, so kind of like how some people journal to process their feelings, but our brains are doing it through dreams.
Exactly. It's a way for us to work through those challenging emotions, integrate those experiences into our memories, all without the usual filters of logic and reason that we have when we're awake.
And so that recurring dream I have about showing up to give a big presentation, but I've got, completely forgotten what I'm supposed to say. That could be my brain's way of dealing with stress from, my actual job.
It's definitely possible. Dreams love to use symbols and metaphors, so the dream itself might not be literal, but the emotions behind it, they're very real. And by processing them in a safe space, like in our dreams, we might be better equipped to handle those same feelings when we're awake.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So emotional processing, that's one down. What else you got?
Another big one is the memory consolidation theory. This one basically says that dreams are crucial for how we learn and remember information.
Wait, so while I'm off in dreamland, my brain's actually hitting save on all the important stuff I learned that day.
Pretty much. Think of your brain like, I don't know, a giant filing cabinet. All this new information comes in every day, but it needs to be sorted, organized, and stored properly. And this theory basically says dreams are the ones doing the filing.
That makes a lot of sense. I know after a good night's sleep, I definitely feel sharper. I can actually remember what I did the day before. Maybe that's just my brain's filing system doing its thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got emotions, we've got memory. Any other big dream theories out there?
One more we should definitely talk about, and this one's a bit more, I guess you could say, primal. It's called the threat simulation theory.
Threat simulation. Okay, now you got my attention. Lay it on me.
All right, so this theory says that way back when, way, way back with our early ancestors, dreams actually helped them survive.
You mean dreaming about being chased by a saber-toothed tiger helped them outrun it in real life?
It wasn't just about outrunning, it was about learning to deal with any kind of threat. This theory says dreams were like our ancestors' way of practicing their survival skills in a safe environment.
Oh, so like a virtual reality simulator, but for ancient humans? Pretty cool. But we don't really have to worry about saber-toothed tigers anymore. So how does this threat simulation thing apply to us now?
Well, think about it. Even though the threats have changed, we're still hardwired to react to stress, to danger. So those deeply ingrained anxieties about safety, about navigating the unknown, those are still there. Our dreams might just be tapping into that.
So that dream where I'm lost in a maze or I can't find my way home, that could be my modern brain working through those same ancient anxieties.
Exactly. The threats might look different, but the underlying mechanisms, the way our brains deal with them, might be very similar.
Wild. So our dreams could be echoing fears from, like, the dawn of humanity.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Though we do have to acknowledge not every dream feels like a life or death situation. Sometimes, let's be honest, they're just weird, like completely random and nonsensical.
Yeah, no argument there. Which brings us to...
The activation synthesis model.
Catchy. So, is this the theory that explains why I sometimes dream about, like, flying to the moon on a giant piece of pizza?
You might be onto something. This theory is basically saying that, yeah, sometimes our dreams are just our brains trying to make sense of random neural activity that's happening during REM sleep.
So my brain's firing off all these random neurons, and my dreams are basically me going, hold on, I'm going to try to turn this into a story.
Exactly. And sometimes it works. You get these strangely coherent dreams that almost feel like mini movies. But other times it's just a jumble of images and emotions because, well, that's all the material your brain's giving you to work with.
I kind of like that idea. Sometimes a weird dream is just a weird dream. No deeper meaning required.
Sometimes that's all it is.
But hold on. With all these different theories, how do we know which one's right? Or is it possible that they're all right, just in different ways?
You've hit on a really important point. It's not necessarily about one theory being the answer and all the others being wrong. It's more likely that they all play a role, even the ones that seem contradictory.
Our brains are basically multitasking while we sleep.
Exactly. Processing emotions, consolidating memories, running through threat simulations, maybe even just trying to make sense of random neural firings all at the same time.
That's insane. Our brains are more efficient than we give them credit for.
Right, and what makes this whole field of dream research so exciting is that we're constantly learning more. New technology is letting us peek into the dreaming brain like never before.
Okay, now I have to know. What kind of tech are we talking here? Are we going to be, like, decoding dreams with AI anytime soon?
We might be closer than you think. Researchers are already using AI to analyze dream patterns, looking for those connections between our dreams and our waking life that we might not even notice.
Whoa, AI dream analysis. That's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Okay, what about VR? I've heard rumors about that being used to study dreams too. Are we going to be able to, like, design our own dreams soon?
Yeah.
Choose from a menu of dream adventures?
Haha. I don't know about that. But researchers are using VR to create simulated dream environments so they can control the experience and see how our brains react in those dreamlike settings.
That's pretty wild. But with all this amazing technology, with everything we're learning about how dreams work, is there still a place for, good old-fashioned dream interpretation? Like, does paying attention to our own dreams, trying to understand them ourselves, still matter?
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. Even with all the fancy tech, all the scientific breakthroughs, some of the most valuable insights about our dreams come from a much simpler source ourselves.
You're saying even with all this amazing technology, the most powerful tool for understanding our dreams is still our own intuition.
Exactly. We can learn so much from science, but at the end of the day, no one knows your dreams better than you.
So it's less about finding the right answer in a dream dictionary and more about listening to what our dreams are telling us on a personal level.
You got it. A dream symbol that's super meaningful for one person might mean something totally different to someone else. It's about figuring out what those symbols, those themes, those emotions mean to you.
So we're all dream detectives in a way, just trying to crack our own personal dream code. But how do we even begin to do that? Where do we start?
Well, one of the best things you can do is also one of the simplest, keep a dream journal.
I've heard that before, but honestly, I'm terrible at remembering my dreams. Like, 5 minutes after I wake up, it's gone. Any tips?
It really is about making it a habit. Keep a notebook by your bed or use the voice memo app on your phone, whatever works for you. The important thing is to jot down whatever you remember as soon as you wake up.
And don't worry about making it sound poetic or anything.
Not at all. Just get those thoughts down. And don't just focus on the plot either. Try to remember those sensory details. Colors, sounds, smells, how the dream made you feel.
Oh, so like, instead of just writing, I dreamt I was flying, I'd write down, the air felt cold on my skin, I could hear the wind rushing past me, and I felt this incredible sense of freedom.
Exactly. Those little details, those are the things that will really help bring your dreams to life when you look back on them. And who knows, you might start to see some patterns emerge.
Like recurring symbols or certain emotions that keep popping up.
Exactly. Those are your clues, your own personal dream language starting to reveal itself.
I like it. So we're not just passively experiencing these dreams, we're actively engaging with them, trying to understand what they might be telling us. It's a whole other level of self-discovery.
It really is. And it's a journey that's fascinated people for, well, as long as we've been dreaming.
It's true. We've gone from chiseling dream symbols on clay tablets to analyzing them with AI, and yet there's still so much we don't know, which I kind of love. Expert speaker, before we wrap up, I'm curious, with all your knowledge of dreams, from the ancient interpretations to the latest scientific research, do you have any personal theories about why we dream?
You know, for me, it always comes back to this idea of integration. Dreams are this incredible space where our brains can take all these seemingly separate parts of ourselves, our conscious thoughts, our unconscious feelings, memories, emotions, and weave them together into something new.
So it's like our brains are doing some serious behind-the-scenes work while we sleep, making sense of it all.
Exactly. And in that process, in that integration, who knows what we might discover about ourselves? Maybe we uncover hidden strengths or find creative solutions to problems that have been bothering us.
I love that dreams is a source of creativity and insight,
Yeah.
a way to tap into our own hidden wisdom.
Exactly. It's an incredible thing.
It really is. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating, expert speaker. I feel like I could talk about dreams all day, but for now, I think it's time for us to, well, wake up from this dream deep dive.
I agree. It's been a pleasure.
Before we go, any final words of wisdom for our listeners? Any parting advice for our fellow dream explorers out there?
Just this. Tonight, when you're drifting off to sleep, don't just close your eyes, open your mind. Pay attention to the world your dreams create. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And to all our listeners, sweet dreams and happy decoding.